Hello,
Hey,
everyone. Oh,
sorry. I was just going to say hey and thank you for being here. This is Elena Valentine with Film School for Recruiters, and I'm going to hand it over to you and shut my gab, Elena. Thank you for being here.
awesome. Hey, everyone. We're just going to get started probably in the next 2 minutes or so to let other people join on. But let's get this video party started. Ashley is going to be throwing out a couple of poll questions and really want to get the feel for where everyone's at with video. So if you could please answer these. Are you currently using video? Yes or no? And when it comes to recruitment video, what's your biggest fear? I know everyone hates those kinds of, big fear questions, but what this really is about is just trying to understand what are people's challenges? What are some of the big hangups that you have and your team has when it comes to video? So those polls are coming up right now. Can't wait to see some of those reactions. And it certainly also helps to kind of understand what, if at all, we might want to focus on a little bit more during this webinar. We'll give everyone another minute or so as folks are joining on. Again, my name is Elena. I am very excited about this topic. I live, eat, sleep, and breathe video, storytelling, and the world of recruitment. So again, folks who are joining on just recently, these past couple seconds, we've just thrown out a poll. Are you currently using video? And when it comes to recruitment video, what is your biggest fear? AKA, what's your biggest hang up? What's been holding you or your team back from just doing video all the time? So please answer these questions. There is an other as well. And in the meantime, just chat as well. Chat what might be some of your biggest hangups. What do you see as being some of the challenges so that we can make sure we can try to address some of those challenges here on our webinar. And if not, I will make myself available to make sure that I can share some of those resources and tips with you. Just gives ourselves one more minute.
We've got that going right now. Thank you so much for being here with us. And we do have some others coming in.
Fantastic.
Biggest fear is putting myself in the video.
Whoa, yes, all right. Okay, you don't like taking selfies, huh? Yep, I understand. Camera jitters. All right, we're gonna definitely dive into some of that today for sure. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. We have a ton coming in. You want me to just list them
Woo!
off here for you?
Let's list some more, and then we're gonna get going in the next 30 seconds. And Ashley, if you want to close that poll, we can get going shortly.
Alrighty, I'll go ahead and close that. And there are the results on screen right now. So,
I'm not seeing the results, but you can share them with me.
okay, so time, 28%. Money, 11%. Getting colleagues to participate is the winner at 32%. My company,
Whoa!
yes. So a lot of shy colleagues. My company has many restrictions at 12% and other at 17%. So that explains all of the fears coming through.
Whoa, getting colleagues to participate. All right, glad I'm including some of that. We can definitely dive into that. Any interesting others, Ashley, that might want to share before we
Oh,
move on?
yes. I'll just open that up here and get started. So number one, what content to include? So,
All right. Perfect. We will cover that. Thanks everyone for taking that. Super helpful to get a read of the attendees here. What kind of is their biggest hang up challenge? Looks like we'll cover much of that today. Of course, there's even more to dive into. Ashley, you want to kick us off, do a bit of introductions for us, and we're going to get this party started.
well, yes, we are here again, Film School for Recruiters, in case you haven't picked up on that, since we're going over that, video content and visual storytelling best practices, and we have brought the authority. Thank you so much for being here with us, Elena. She is the CEO and co-founder of Skill Scout, an expert in leveraging video stories in the workplace. I am not going to read your whole bio from this slide, Elena. I think it would be much better for you to tell us about yourself. Do you want to go for that here?
I'll dive into that a little bit later. Let's move on.
All right. So before we really get rolling, just want to go over a few things. You are in listen only mode. So that means that you can hear us, but we can't hear you. Please don't be shy. That panel that you use to send your biggest fears, use it to ask questions. I'll relay everything I can over to Elena. She'll give us a few moments during the webinar to answer those questions and then some at the end. Also share, we're live. Use the RDaily hashtag to share all over social media, and we are recording. So you will receive a copy of the slide deck and the recording after the webinar. Watch your inbox. Do you mind going to the next slide, Elena?
Yes.
Thanks. We're also here with Glassdoor today. Glassdoor is one of the largest job and recruiting sites online. Job seekers on Glassdoor are well researched. They're more informed about the jobs and companies they apply to and consider joining. If you don't know Glassdoor's name, which you should, please go check them out. They have helped to make this possible today, along with Skill Scout.
All
Thanks,
right.
Elena.
Great. So let's get started with kind of a little bit of, why we're here. So speaking of Glassdoor, who recently did a study, and they said how 67% of employers believe retention rates would be higher if candidates had a clear picture of what to expect about working at a company before taking the job. Those of you who are in agreement, put that in the chat. Yes, no, maybe so. But this is kind of why we're here, getting to understand what it means to have a clearer picture of role, company culture. But let's just get this out of the way. So again, in the chat, does this look familiar to you? Might this look like one of your roles? And that's okay if it is. This is pretty common. Also, let's think about other forms of communication that we have in the world of HR. Think training, benefits, events. Unfortunately, much of this ends up in white papers or in legalese. Don't feel bad, you're not alone. It's just kind of how things have been done. But there's a different way. That's why I'm here. So a little bit about myself. I'm Elena. I am a job nerd. So while everyone, growing up, maybe we're dressing up as prince or princesses, I was just fascinated about the world of work, playing a variety of different roles growing up. So this is some of my earliest evidence, me playing Dr. Dick as a 3-year-old. Don't know how I got that name, and experimenting even with some headphones, self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm a sound engineer by trade. So yes, I have just really kind of explored all kinds of roles and have made a career out of this. So my colleagues and I at Skill Scout, we are workplace storytellers. And in fact, from now on, you are also workplace storytellers, because video is merely just the medium. And so what we've had the pleasure of doing is working with companies large and small, from Nike, Unilever, Thermo Fisher, Dyson, even to small to mid-sized manufacturers of the Midwest, all who have unique stories to tell, showcasing their roles, company culture, training on video. And so this is what we do. This is what we live and breathe. I'm really looking forward to sharing what we've learned from hundreds of our clients with you today. So a couple of things about this webinar today. I'm making a couple of assumptions. Hashtag sorry, not sorry about this, but we do not have a lot of time because this is going to go by fast. So if you're on this webinar, I'm making the assumption that you are already a video believer and that your team is on board with video. A lot of this is because I don't have a lot of the time to share kind of the data right now. If you need this though, and if that's the case, I've got a ton of resources for you. And this will also include other awesome goodies, a planning your job video description planning sheet, an ebook to market your job video. So this is for those that are on this webinar right now. So if you are interested in that, please email me. The subject I'm in at elena@skillscout.me, and you will get forwarded an email with these goodies, okay? So just because it's not here, it doesn't mean that we don't have it. We just can't cover it. So the 3 takeaways today that I would like to cover. One, how to craft and plan a recruitment video that candidates actually want to watch. So to my fellow attendee who talked about, all right, what content to include? This is for you. The second is how you can capture this video as an option, even if you wanted to, in less than an hour. So for those that are money conscious, We are talking about using the very powerful cameras in our pockets as an option to you for you to bring your jobs to life. And then the third takeaway, how to activate your job video to attract quality candidates. So that once you have that video, what do we do with this? All right, couple of things. There are many stories of talent acquisition here. The list goes on. And as storytellers yourselves, I know that you're constantly repeating things like what to expect in the hiring process or what to expect at a recruitment event. We're going to focus on two. Primarily, the first one will be around jobs. The second, I'll just share something very quickly around little like easy things that you can do just to introduce yourself, a very more personalized way for you all to be connecting with potential candidates online. And also a great option, thanks to my third-party recruiters too. They had some feedback on wanting some tips on that. All right, so what do we mean by job video, bringing our roles to life? I'll share a little bit of this video with you.
I looked up, I seen some guys with a tower rig with the ropes, and I said, that looks like something I could do. Run your computers, run your cell phones, watch that video off of your phone. Without us, there's no communication. You don't have cell phone service if we don't build it. I don't think it's safe for any guy to say he's not scared. There's always moments when we're lifting something heavy or something. If you got enough sense, you're going to be a little scared. But knowing the people you're working with, knowing everything's going to go the safest it can, then it's just another day.
Watch what you're doing. Watch everything around you. Inspect everything before you climb on it. Most full body harness that goes around your waist. You've got two lanyards on your back and hooks. One of those has to be on the tower at all times. If you forget to do something, you're always got your friend there watching out for you. And we do the same to each other, so make sure that you're good. SAC, they give a lot of good training. They teach you how to rescue, they teach you how to use all your safety equipment. After they get out of training, they should be able to fly.
Me recomendaron esta empresa, me dijeron que era una empresa muy buena. Disfruto de mis compañeros, disfruto del trabajo, me gusta experimentar cosas nuevas y creo que esta ha sido un gran reto.
Ride the same truck, eat at the same restaurant, climb the same tower, so it's like a family. When we get to the job site, we usually get out of the truck, talk about the paperwork, things like that, so everybody.
All right, I'm going to stop there for sake of time. If people are interested in seeing the rest of that video, please reach out to me. But this is just to give you a sense of what it's like to showcase your role. So this is actually a video by SAC Wireless for their tower climber role. So put your candidate hats on for a little bit. As you can see, there's certainly quite a few challenges and opportunities in this role, and SAC really wanted to lean in because they were struggling to attract and retain, because as you can imagine, no matter how many times the recruiters would say it's really high up there, you know, no one would believe them until that person finally went up and realized, you know what, kind of afraid of heights. So this was, among other things, some of the challenges that they had. And so in addition to a video like this and an entire brand campaign, they put this video, for example, on Facebook, and it just spread like wildfire through employee referrals and friends and family. And as a result of kind of this entire campaign, they went from a $33 million recruitment spend to a $3 million recruitment spend, and reduced their retention by about 22% as a result, again, of just giving candidates a new way to understand, experience this job, and give them an opportunity to self-screen in or self-screen out. That's really important here, is that there's two paths when it comes to why we might create video. And it's because we want to give candidates all the information they need to make an informed decision. All right, so let's get to this. How do I plan my video? Well, the first question to think about is, all right, well, which role do I focus on? And so these might be kind of a couple of questions that you and your team might want to ask yourself when it comes to kind of making the investment. One question could be, what are my evergreen roles? And you know what those are. You know, those roles that you're constantly hiring for and, you know, could always have some new investment in. What is my hardest to fill role? Which role could use a serious reality check? And what role do candidates have the hardest time understanding? Now, curious, even in the chat box, I mean, I'm sure some of you, that you may check the boxes on all 4 of these. Maybe it's 2. Actually, I'm curious, is anyone in the chat box that they already know, hey, this is the kind of role I'm looking to recruit with video? Any responses?
Do we have any responses? Let's see. Plumbing designers, hardest to fill, nurses. I have a feeling this will fill up very fast.
Okay, great. But that's wonderful to know that you all are already thinking about, all right, I know what my role is, and that's a key one, right? Because this is kind of an important investment. So that's great. So ingredients for a great job video. These are the top 5 in terms of the kinds of things we want to think about. Be specific, keeping it real, 2 minutes, show, don't tell, and sharing your why. So when we think about the kind of the content, these are some of the things that we are looking for. So what do I mean by being specific? 1, picking one job to feature. There's certainly a place for cultural overviews, but as I've explained previous, a lot of the times when we're at the job post, many candidates are already trying to understand what is it like to be a shoe designer at Nike versus being a shoe designer at Adidas. And so this is why, we've seen that job videos in particular work, and focusing it on kind of the day in the life. And you want to talk to 2 people. You want to talk to an employee in that role and the hiring manager, because both of them can really provide valuable perspectives based on where they're at in the organization. Second one is keeping it real. This is one of my favorites. So here's the idea. Sometimes you just have to lean into the suck. We know what those challenges are in those roles. And if you don't, go talk to some employees to understand what are the things that surprise them the most that they didn't expect coming into this role, because those are the questions that we need to answer. So when it comes to keeping it real, 1, we want to go in there with this sense of discovery, or as a former geeky researcher here, an ethnographic research mindset, that even as we're going through this process, we should expect the unexpected and potentially be including things in this video that we didn't think to include. The big thing here is capture productivity. We're not here to stop it. Because we have video, we actually want to show what this role is like. At Skill Scout, we're big proponents on no scripts. This is about employees speaking it in their own words, telling it, how would they describe it, because that's typically how candidates are also going to understand the job. We'll get a little bit more into employees being the experts of their experience, but that's important. They really are, and that's why we are highlighting them. 2 minutes tops. Super easy, right? The whole goal here is that we are not here to showcase a novel. We're here to showcase a glimpse, showcase a chapter. And so what that means is really keeping our videos short, under 2 minutes or less. Our data shows around 1 minute, 36 seconds. We want to focus on the top 2 to 3 tasks. So not that long bulleted list of legalese. This is about really focusing it. And what we have found as companies and recruiters are going through this process of video, they're actually realizing, hey, we may not need all of these bullet points. In fact, we should just highlight the top 3 or top 5. So this is a really interesting exercise to even think about how we change even kind of the written job post of all of this. Showing, don't tell. That's a big one, right? We are in kind of the medium where we can showcase what it is that the employees will actually be doing as opposed to just standard interviews. So this is kind of the beauty of leveraging video in this way, and this is what you'll want to do to kind of showcase that day in the life, the environment, the team huddles and the camaraderie, etc. Big one, sharing your why and the impact. If it's one thing that you take away from the content that needs to be included in this, is helping these candidates understand, how their role fits into the bigger picture, how it fits into the larger mission. And here's just some key sample questions that you might all want to ask or kind of sprinkle throughout. So, answering, very plainly, how does this role fit into the larger company mission? One of our favorites, especially when you might be talking to someone who maybe hasn't had the opportunity to reflect so much on their role, asking them, so what would happen if this role didn't exist? Or what would happen if people in this role didn't show up tomorrow? So imagine, right, talking to baggage handlers at American Airlines and asking them, okay, what would happen if people in this role didn't show up? Our airports would absolutely shut down. That is the value, right? Baggage handlers make sure that your trip runs smoothly. You get to the spot where you need to get with your baggage in hand. So that's kind of, for example, what might be some of the potential impact. Okay, everyone, we are at probably the kind of the key part here. How do I get my colleagues to participate? And I certainly welcome some fodder, additional questions here. If I can't answer them now, I know that this is important to people. So first of all, I want to say this. It is all about the framing. I'm going to repeat. It is all about the framing here. And so what that means is from the get, we cannot come in with our own scare, camera, jitters, you know, kind of attitude here. This is about, hey, we are here to treat you and to celebrate you. And we want to celebrate you on video. So it's about treating them and treating this kind of whole experience as a celebration. And that's been a really interesting kind of anecdote that many companies have shared with us, is this idea that this is such an important engagement opportunity. So this is not just about recruiting candidates to these next roles. It's actually about celebrating the employees that you already have and using video as a way to do that. And so what are ways that you can treat video and treat this experience as a celebration? First of all, let me steal this email template. This is exactly what we use and what we share just in terms of how we can set it up, right? And how we communicate it. I won't share all of it, but you know, hey, feel more like a celebration. It might be painless. In fact, we might actually have some fun together, right? And that here are some pointers and stress relievers. So we're already leading with the fact we know that you're nervous, but hey, we want to set this up to let you know you're the expert. There's no right or wrong answers. This is about having an informal conversation with you. And what you're also seeing is here, hey, we want to prep them in advance. We don't just want to, you know, just lay this on them and without any preparation. We want to give them some of the questions so that they can prepare. So this is, again, kind of a really key way in framing it. Another thing that certainly has helped is acknowledge with various incentives, right? So we've had companies where on film day, they're bringing in lunch, bringing in people's favorite snacks. Again, just thanking them for their time because they really are going to be, you know, treated like video stars out there. They're going to be representatives of our company, and we want to thank them and appreciate them for that. Something else, you know, certainly that has worked is also just saying, hey, you know what, and here's a $10 Amazon gift card, or we know you love books, so here's a gift card to this. So again, this is just to acknowledge that we know that this is difficult. We also know that you're taking additional time out of your day to prepare for this and to be with us. And so just thanking them with a little bit of gratitude goes a long way. The other thing here is you as the interviewer, or as, you know, the recruiter who might be leading this, plays a very, very important role. Because once they're, you know, in front of the camera, you have the responsibility to put your talent at ease. And I actually have another resource here. I can't share it just based on time, but here's kind of the big 7 takeaways. Potentially, if you're the one that's going to be leading interviews, is one, yes, you share the questions beforehand. You lay out the process. So this could be, you know, hey, Sarah, thanks so much for being here. So we're going to have about a 10-minute conversation together. And out of those 10 minutes, we are going to pull 30 seconds of your awesomeness together and share that as part of our role. So again, right, they're getting the whole breadth. In our case, again, depending on what video you do, if this is kind of more interview style, they're going to be looking at you, not at the camera. So that's, and we have found that to be, you know, when we're having someone look at the camera, that's almost one of the biggest stresses they have. So when you're there to say, no, 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 don't look at the camera, look at me, you and I are just going to have a conversation together. Again, that helps to ease some of the tension. This other idea of empowering them as experts. So for you to kind of humble yourself, for your leadership teams to humble themselves and say, you know what, this is an employee who's been on this role. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. Let them do that and empower them and show your gratitude for their level of expertise. Another one I say is have them simplify their language. So the way I like to say it is, let's pretend like I'm your 11-year-old niece. So I know nothing about tower climbing. I know nothing about ropes and any of the equipment. So if you can simplify your language, the better. The reason why, again, that's important is we don't want anyone to get kind of too caught up in any jargon or acronyms. And again, we are talking to candidates oftentimes who may not understand what these acronyms are. So that's a kind of a big piece. And the other thing, of course, have them repeat their question back in their response. Know that takes a little bit of practice, but that allows for you to get yourself out of the video so that they have a full, complete response. And then the seventh and the last one, and I end this in every interview I ever do, have any questions for me, right? And they may have other questions that come up, but again, we're easing their tension, we're easing their stress just by giving them this opportunity for them to kind of, again, air out anything else that they might have issues with before we get started. All right, real quick, because I know that this was an important piece here. I'm happy to take one to two quick questions on this. If anyone has questions around the, putting talent at ease and getting colleagues to participate.
So we have tons and tons
Whoa.
of commentary here. If you have any specific questions around the last couple of slides, please send them through now. But we do have lots to address. No idea what topics to choose when making a video, fear of looking awkward. So these are some of the things that people have addressed. Now, here's a good question. Do we need a special mic for interviews?
We will absolutely dive into that. I will tell you, as a former sound engineer, people will forgive mediocre visuals. They will not forgive bad audio. I'm going to repeat that again. People will forgive mediocre visuals. They will not forgive bad audio. Audio really needs to be crisp, and I will be diving into that. But great question.
So we have one more. We have a video vendor, but it takes several takes to get a video that I'm actually okay with. I think he's addressing perfection.
Yeah, great question. The questions I would ask you, if this is the case where you're feeling pretty unsatisfied from that first draft, then something went missing in your pre-production and planning with this particular vendor. Because the goal should be is that if you had a good pre-production plan, then this shouldn't be the case. One very quick thing, and for whoever this person is, please get in contact with me because I'd be just happy to share other things. As someone who's also kind of serves as a video vendor, the more examples you can share, the better. And maybe they're not yours, but maybe you've been inspired by other videos. We always love to see that because then we can get a sense for both your level of expectation, but also maybe it's not that video completely, but it could be, hey, I love the pacing in this, or I love the music, I love the humor. That really helps because inevitably, and this is why we're doing video in the first place, it's really hard to talk about this in the abstract. We have to get tangible. So the more that you can get tangible with your video vendor around sharing certain samples is definitely something I'd recommend. But again, if this feels like it's a longer convo, please reach out to me.
Thank you so much. We have one more. Do you have time?
Yeah.
Or okay, so we can save it till the end if you want.
Great. Well, how about why don't you repeat it now, and maybe if it's something I can address in my slides, I will.
How do you feel about making a video that features both the interviewer and the interviewee?
It can work, and it's your style. So if that's the culture, I mean, I've seen that work really well. So that can certainly be another way, again, to put everyone else at ease, especially if you're okay with being the model, with being the one who's going to kind of like lead the direction. I've seen that work really well. Great question. All right, so how do I capture my video? So there's a couple of different considerations here. So when I mean we film, this means, all right, thinking about, oh, and actually, Ashley, there's a poll I'd like you to put out around how are you planning on capturing your video? Is that something that you can start sharing right now? And then I'll ask for those results shortly. So we film meaning, all right, maybe you have, you know, an internal marketing team, maybe it's an outside vendor. Here's a couple of considerations that people are thinking about when it comes to maybe full-scale production. So the reason why there's some advantages certainly is time. So, hey, your team is stretched thin. You really just could use that level of expertise to speed up the timeline, have that support. This is certainly a consideration why folks might choose full scale. Some folks look to full scale when they're thinking about having a longer shelf life. So they're looking at these as the foundational videos that they might have for maybe a year or two, and to kind of build upon. Another one is certainly consistency. So the reason why marketing has gelled really well with this is things like, branding and logos and treatment. So this is kind of another kind of consideration, an advantage for full scale. The reason why this could certainly be challenging for kind of a more full scale production is budget, right? This costs more. You're bringing in kind of outside support. It is professionally done. So, I mean, there are some advantages to that, but that is something to keep in mind. And one thing to keep in mind too is glossy can have a tendency to be seen as inauthentic. So, this idea of, all right, they've got this almost looks too professionally done, polished. What are they missing, right? What are they not telling us? That's kind of been some of the feedback sometimes. But then there's also kind of the U film, right? So again, and this is what I want to, focus on for those folks that are maybe low budget, is that this is something that companies large and small are taking in their own hands. Kind of adding, recruiting filmmaker, workplace filmmaker to their skill set. So the reason why this approach like this might work is one, it is more budget friendly. This is for folks that want to tell more stories more often. So it's not just about roles. You have a plan to tell stories of all kinds. This is really great for more kind of in the moment content. Think recruiting events, things just celebrations, things that you want to share. And employee generated is more authentic. So I'll share a stat: 55% of job seekers say that they see employee generated content as being more trustworthy and authentic. So that's something for you, especially given, that everyone is kind of a bit more used to, smartphone video. The reasons why this might be challenging certainly is thinking about team capacity and capabilities. Is there a way for you to do this? For sure. But this is, going to be some more of your time. There sometimes are some questions around consistency. Editing is a big question mark. And then, of course, there is time. So depending on how you want to slice or dice, if you're taking this into your own hands, those are kind of the overall considerations. I'm curious, Ashley, the results of that poll.
Yes. So we got the big answer was we are capturing it ourselves, 64%. Our marketing department is helping out at 19%. We plan on working with an outside production company at 13%, and then we have 4% others with responses.
All right, just what's a quick response for another?
This is the first time I'm thinking of doing this, so I'm not sure. And I do my own videos using my phone and an LA lav mic.
Great, perfect. All right, so there's varying levels of degrees, and I will even tell you that many companies are doing both. Many companies might be doing more full-scale production video and capturing on their phones. So this is great. So over the next few minutes, I really want to dive into this more heavily. So here might be some of the things that you want to consider if you're doing this on your own. One, you've already got the biggest piece of equipment there, and that is your phone. But it could be things around, a tripod to keep your interview steady, a microphone kit, big key one that you will want to consider as well. So what you're seeing here, for example, is everything that Skill Scout, for example, includes in our DIY kit when we're sharing this with folks. But here's kind of just the overall kind of pieces. That all being said, you can also do this in one take. Let's just say you're like, look, quick, dirty, starting this tomorrow. I just want to, add something. You can do quick, short takes of various maybe actions or activities that you think are important to highlight. I'm just going to share a quick example of that.
I'm just trying to take these two off right here. I'll get lit in the process here. It's probably just coming back from the house.
Okay. So when you want to get out of that hole, you got to use your strength to get out of that hole, right?
That's it, yep.
Yeah, that's why I would be stuck in that.
Right, again, quick one take. You're not worrying about editing. This is just shot on the smartphone. I believe this gentleman did have a mic on, But yeah, so this guy is a water quality technician from Denver Water. One of the big things they wanted to show is, look, like you're having to leverage a lot of your strength. You're having to go, you know, and get yourself into kind of a lot of different holes here to make sure that the water's fixed. So that's just an example. Here's another quick one.
Whenever you're ready. My name is Sergeant Arthur Darian with the Connecticut State Police Bomb Squad. My primary role is I serve as a bomb technician with the State Police Bomb Squad. I've got a bunch of gear laid out for you to take a look at today. What I would describe as our primary tools, what we use most on bomb calls. First of all, on the right, we have a...
So that's just an example. Again, just sharing very specific things. So it's not necessarily the whole story. Certainly if you're doing this in one take and you don't have a lot of time, it is just kind of focusing on, you know, maybe that specific detail task. In this case, they wanted to show the various pieces of equipment that folks will need to learn. I am sharing this one in particular for my third-party recruiters, but also even for, you know, internal recruiters, when we're thinking about even just very quick personalized intro videos, even of ourselves. So for those that don't like selfies or being on camera yourself, totally understand this might be a stretch for you, but I'm going to put it this way. If you are going to ask any of your colleagues to be in front of the camera, you need to put yourself in front of the camera too. You need to understand what that feels like and go first. That's one thing I really want to make clear is we have to be the models for what this is. And so with that, I want to share a couple of, they have some free plans as well, Loom or Vidyard. I am a Loom girl myself. This is really great. This is a desktop app, and it basically just kind of records quick videos that you can take, and it'll create a thumbnail for you that you can put in an email. So for example, third-party recruiters, this is, you know, awesome, especially because I know that you're potentially reaching out to very specific individuals, and this is about them getting to know you. So this could be a perfect kind of quick tool to be able to do that. And in fact, my Loom brother from another mother, for those who don't know him, he's a senior recording sourcer, Aaron Daniels. He's a very great colleague and friend of mine. He works at HEB down in Texas. He is a big, big fan of Loom. He is doing this with all of his candidates. And he was gracious enough to share an example for us on this webinar. I'm going to share a little bit of that too, so that you get a sense for kind of what a quick, down and dirty kind of meet your recruiter intro could be for you.
Hey Jeff, how's it going? My name's Aaron Daniels. I work for HB down here in Texas. My buddy Manali reached out to you about July sometime last year, and it looked like you weren't ready to have any kind of conversations, but I saw on LinkedIn that you're now open to new opportunities, so I wanted to make you a really quick video instead of having to read through an email about why I'd like to speak with you. Number one, you used to do push-ups for a living as well, so simplify, my friend. Number two, I really think that some of your experience can really bode well here at HEB if the opportunity and timing is right. And I just want to have a conversation with you, give you a high-level overview of what's going on with us, and then also give you a little more granular detail about what we're looking for, and see if it makes sense. If it does make sense, we can have some more pertinent, more formal type conversations with some of our recruiting team and leadership within our manufacturing, warehouse, and transportation space. But if it doesn't make sense, I'd like to connect and at least stay in your LinkedIn circles. If I can be of assistance, I'd love to do that for you. So if you're interested in having a conversation, you can do one or two things. Down below is a link to my calendar. If you want to jump on and put some time on there that makes sense for you, that's cool. If you want to just shoot me an email.
All right, for sake of time, I'll move forward, but you get the picture. So you can do this too, and it can be super easy, again, using, you know, a tool like Loom or Vidyard in this case. So here's a couple of Aaron's tips that he shared on why this worked. And in fact, he consistently, and including from this guy, Jeff, actually got a wonderful comment of, wow, this is super unique. Thank you so much for that. Clearly, you know, he got the click, he got a response. And so that's what we're looking for. So this very much works. And again, this is about putting yourselves first, putting yourselves in front of the camera. And in fact, if people are interested, Ashley, I'm curious from the comments and feedback, this is, I think, a really kind of important piece here when it comes to video is how are we creating kind of personalized intros, even for ourselves as recruiters. So if people are really interested specifically in this kind of topic and what we can do to kind of push that level of personalization and and to make you more human as a recruiter, really kind of down with this kind of style. All right, so when it comes to capturing quality video, here are some of the considerations. As I had mentioned, audio, super key. The next one is lighting. Now, for those who want to be super overachieving and maybe they know their way around different lighting kits and rings, that can certainly work. One thing I will warn you though is that the settings of our phone at this point are to where they're able to kind of calibrate even to low light. And so in our kit, for example, we don't necessarily include lighting because it can often, I think, confuse and kind of maybe mess up the coloring a little bit, but really to each his own depending. But again, when it comes to lighting, if we can use natural light, always really recommend that. So putting them potentially near a window where they're getting kind of nice sunlight or being in a very well lit room, we recommend. All right, big one. We are not shooting like this. We are shooting horizontal, so it fits within the entire space of the camera. And then, of course, it's about having heart, which we talked a lot about, right? You play a huge role in capturing quality video, putting camera talent at ease. So what are the things that we might want to cover? So these are just some sample questions that we have in our recipe kit, or that's what we call it, right? Recipes of kind of the questions to ask. For example, on a job preview. Some of the big ones that we love are thinking about the surprises, right? So thinking about, hey, going back to that first day on the role, what surprised you? Because again, the reason why we're doing video is because we are here to help unlock what candidates just cannot understand. And our biggest experts in that are current employees in that role. I have a couple of these, but just wanted to share because this always comes up around, all right, what do we mean by B-roll? What is, how do we capture a good B-roll? So real quick definition on what B-roll means is that's kind of just like the visuals that will go kind of overlay the speaking part. So as they're describing things around the office and activities and team huddles, that's what we mean by B-roll. And it's a really, really important piece to creating great content, especially because this allows candidates to see where they might be working. So I'll just share this really quick. All right, that's what we mean by that. Another big thing to think about, especially if you're doing this on your own, is thinking about how might you be centralizing and reviewing the footage. So is this a Google Dropbox? Is this something else? Because that's really important because again, depending on who's bringing all of this together, there likely is a chokehold or a need, for someone higher level to kind of review, make sure that branding is consistent, etc. So that is something to consider. This is actually a screenshot of our behind kind of our own kind of upload site, just to kind of show you kind of how folks might be able to upload and review. So a couple of different editing options here. As I showed you, you could do it in one take, right? So you could do this tomorrow, capturing on your phone for free, and kind of adding this to various job posts, social media, etc. There are other options available to you. I know many recruiters who are whizzes in iMovie and other editing tools. There is an app called Filmic Pro that's on your phone if that was something that was interest. And certainly there are other services, for example, like Skill Scout, where we're really working closely with companies like yourselves to help you capture good ingredients. And then we're the chefs and we kind of help to kind of edit it and provide that level of branding and treatment. But let's see an example. And I may or may not have one of my good friends, Katie, on here who led this effort with Central Federal Services. So shout out to her. And I'll share a quick 30 seconds of this. And again, recruiters shot this on their smartphones. And if I say so myself, they did an excellent job.
Accenture really focuses on pushing agile as a methodology, understanding what it can do in terms of delivering an IT, either it be software infrastructure, any sort of IT project.
Our philosophy with Agile is that we're always trying to improve.
It has been fast-paced learning, but Accenture really promotes your own growth. So they really want to, push you and want you to succeed at this company.
Coming out of college, I knew about Java and C and a little bit of Python. That was really it. And then when I joined AFS, that's kind of really when I learned a lot more, one of which was hardening those languages that I already knew. But the second part of it was getting exposed to a bunch of different languages.
I joined Accenture 3.5 years ago. It's been fun few years. I've worked on 2 projects so far and used technologies like Java, Spring Framework, C#, .NET Framework. What I really love is that we get to work hand in hand with our clients to develop solutions that provide a lot of valuable improvements to their business and valuable features for their users that help make their lives easier.
At Accenture, we're in a position of trust with the customers that we interact with. And so they often come to us with problems where they don't have any idea on how to solve those problems. And so to be in that position where we can work with the customer as a partner, that is exciting, but it also is humbling to be able to work side by side as a partner with the customer, using technology to solve what today may seem like an intractable problem.
So shout out to Katie if she's on here and the team at Accenture for putting this together. Again, all shot on smartphones. Did a great job planning this. As you can tell, really crisp audio, right? I mean, again, that's what brings it up to the level of, a little bit just above kind of that general social media footage. I do want to do a time check here. It is about 1:48. I can go a little bit through this. I do want to end in about 3 minutes or so, so that I can get some questions. Ashley, I'm sure there's a ton of questions maybe out there already.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll spend like 2 minutes on this, but again, you have these slides. I want to make sure that I can address some questions here. So a couple things on activating video, and some of this, super quick hit. So things like recruiting events, big hit, again, help differentiate yourself. We've even seen things like, 360 viewing, and again, just kind of these more experiential ways, even at recruitment events. Big one here, and this is even what you saw with SAC Wireless. This really helps to jumpstart employee referral programs, really gives them much more of an incentive because they're seeing their friends, they're seeing their colleagues, they're seeing themselves in these videos. So that makes it huge when it comes to kind of making things spread, especially on social media. One of my favorites, love this, you even saw this on Loom, was, inserting videos in your personal intro. So whether that's your Meet Your Recruiter, we've even seen this done really well where you might be heading over to a college, meeting several people there, and you can introduce yourself and introduce the role through a video, and it gets 3 times more the click rates. Big thing that we've been proponents of, and pending on your ATS, this is something that you should be able to do too, is really putting it right on the job post. That's a huge one because, again, that's really where candidates are kind of looking to understand and see how you're differentiated from the other very similar roles. And even more so, I would even push us further to think about how might we include video as part of the application and screening piece. So to think about and asking them questions about the video. How does this stand out? What stands out the video? How does this relate or not relate to your experience? So there's a lot of things that you can get just by having someone react to something that's more tangible versus the abstract. There's a little bit more here, but what I will share, and I want to end it here so that I can take some key questions from you all, is for those of you who have done so already, you're also getting these resources. So we do have a whole other kind of resource on how to market a job video and planning your job video description. These are kind of the key questions that we have our clients go through. And in fact, it's a great exercise for you to have your team go through this together. So if you're interested in that, I'm giving it to those folks who are on the webinar today. So just email me with the subject I'm in, and you will immediately get these resources. Other thing, please connect with me on LinkedIn. It's a huge way that we can kind of share resources and progress. And now I will take the next 10 minutes to reflect with all of you and answer maybe some key kind of questions or considerations that you all are thinking about. So thank you again so much for your time and attention today.
Thank you so much, Elena. This was fantastic. This was a great set. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start hitting you with these questions. I am a recruiter for contract positions. They tend to open up and then halt within a few hours. Any suggestions for how to streamline producing videos for these fast-moving roles?
So yes, I think a couple things to think about, despite the fact that these roles may close out immediately. And again, I would have to understand some color here. One thing to think about, this might be for the same company. So maybe this is a company that's constantly doing different gig kinds of things. So you may want to take your video to the next level where it isn't like that specific job, but maybe it's able to share something a bit more about that particular company or the kinds of gig roles that that person can expect and what the responsibilities might be. So for example, this could be someone who's more in like a catering role, who might be, you know, on one day working for a sports stadium and on the other day, you know, working in a museum. But inevitably, it's going to be kind of the same role, same tasks. So you may not have to think about it so specifically to that actual role as potentially the company or the types of activities that can you might typically expect from these contract roles. Hopefully that may not have hit the nail on the head. If not, please email me and maybe we can dive in a little bit more.
Thank you so much. Dawn, that was Dawn. So if you get an email from Dawn, you'll know exactly who that is. Okay, and challenge. I have a distributed workforce. How do you engage others when you are not physically in the same space?
Repeat that question back to me again.
Susie says, I have a distributed workforce. How do you engage others when you are not physically in the same space?
How do you distribute the actual video or to actually capture video?
I would think it would probably be capturing the video. But Susie, if you'd like to specify, capture the video. Yes, she says capture the video.
Great. We've seen this work all of the time. And again, this is why when we're democratizing tools like this, this means that they can capture their own potential interviews. So what we've had sometimes, and I can share an example of this, Susie, please send me an email on that, is they may do kind of a day in the life and they're kind of sharing their various comments. They're snapping a couple of videos or photos of their day, and then they're sending it along to you. So actually, kind of an approach like this is actually one of the best ways to do that is through their smartphones. The big thing here will be, you know, what are the structures that you're putting in place? What are the guidances? What are the guides that you're giving them to make sure that they are doing this well? So Susie, I do have a couple of examples for you if you'd like that. So please send me an email and I can make sure I can send something that you can get some fodder on.
Thank you so much. Okay, so what do you feel is more important when capturing video? Production value, effects, or storyboarding?
Say that again. Production value, effects, and storyboarding?
Yes.
Oh, it's all about the story. Always about the story. Always, 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 always. At the end of the day, the biggest, the rise and fall of your video will be in how you were able to plan it. Again, effects, nothing. It's wanting to create an emotional connection with your viewer. And that doesn't even necessarily mean that it has to be fancy production value. So everything will be about the story here.
Thank you. So we're going to go back to the very first video you posted or that you shared as an example. Based on that video, what was the timeline from production to presentation? I think we're trying to get a good example of timeline.
Yeah. Again, this is going a couple considerations already. Well, how about I tell you our timeline? I believe our timeline was extremely quick. From planning to editing, and again, this was full scale production. So this is an example of full scale production. We worked specifically with their team. I think this was a pretty compressed timeline, about 4 to 5 weeks, from planning to filming to editing. So that may or may not work for some teams. I mean, we worked with companies where it's been as short as 2 weeks. The big things to think about when it comes to your timeline will certainly be feedback loops. I know that you all have a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? There's a lot of people that need to weigh in on your video. That's going to probably be some of the biggest challenges, is kind of herding the cats to make sure that the people that need to respond and review this video are doing that. So that's big. So feedback loops. It's also making sure that you're including the people who absolutely need to be included early on. You have no idea how many times we've, especially in our early days, gone through the process. Everything looks great. We shoot everything. And there was that one, marketing person or, the head of something who didn't weigh in, and now they have issues with everything you've shot and planned. So the biggest kind of, hiccups in your timelines will be making sure you're including the right people from the beginning and your feedback loops. Great question.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we've got some questions about your equipment. If you were going to choose a phone, what is your favorite phone for recording video?
Ooh, I love this. Well, some people are going to argue with me and be like, oh my God, the iPhone 11. I currently have the Samsung Galaxy 9. I think they even have one that's out that's a little bit more updated. But at the time, this was the best smartphone camera on the market, and I got it specifically for that. So that is my 2 cents, but I welcome other people in the chat. You are also experts. I'm sure there's folks who have done this before too. So I welcome, other people to have some suggestions to share.
We could start a battle to the death on this one.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Just my opinion.
In the same vein, what about sound? Your best options for sound, mic setups and stuff.
Yeah. There are, depending on how you do, you can go with a lav or a wireless lav. There's a ton of kind of brands out there. I would say the ones that make some pretty affordable things are the brand Rode, R-O-D-E, Rode mics. The microphone that we use in our kit for DIY is the PowerDeWise. We love them. And it just kind of simply kind of connects straight into your smartphone. And we provide an extender so that the person kind of speaking kind of has enough space. So those are my recommendations.
Awesome, thank you. And if you're taking a look at sites and success, where have you seen the most success from posting videos as job ads? Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter? Do you have any stats there?
Yes, great question. Although I will turn that back on you because sourcers do this a lot in recruiters. It's also, where's your audience? Where do they hang out online? So, I mean, that's the biggest question. So we certainly have seen a lot of success on Facebook. So that's where, for example, SAC Wireless had a lot of success. But depending on your audience and where they hang out, LinkedIn can absolutely be the huge one for that. We've kind of seen for the world of creatives, right? Visual people, Instagram is huge, right? So I would throw that back on you. Because you're going to know best where your audience hangs out online. And it could vary. I mean, I heard a great story from Mark Tortitucci, who is trying to recruit CDL truck drivers. And he ended up going on YouTube and working with an influencer on YouTube who's really big into trucks and cars and has a huge audience of truck drivers. So that I would throw that question back on you for the audience.
Thank you so much. And I think hey, we've hit the hour, and we've managed to go through all of the great questions. Elena, this was amazing. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Of course, thank you all, and absolutely welcome your feedback. Nothing's ever perfect, and you certainly all are certainly experts in your space too. So any additional questions, ideas, feel free to hit me up. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Elena. Everyone, thank you for being here, and you have a wonderful day. Send those questions.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. See you soon.